I'm going to talk about international research trend on food technology. I actually focus on the literature on cultured meat in this presentation, and I play with the literature for about a month, and I try to see what is the state of literature on the policy and promotion of cultured meat. Here is the outline, and I just talk about the introductory part of the presentation, so I just start with the method. To start the literature review, I start to find the literature on cultured meat, and it's very hard to find the literature on cultured meat because there are a lot of keywords related to cultured meat, plant-based meat, and various types of alternatives. So it's really hard to narrow down. So these are the keywords I chose to find the literature on the cultured meat and the policy promotion. So you can find the keywords that related to the cultured meat on the first parenthesis. Then I just put meat, protein, and I combine these with the words that related to policy, regulations, and guidelines. And the time period to find the literature is from 2013 to 2022. Then I find 518 literature through the search of the abstract. So then I look through the abstract to find the literature that has some discussion over the policy to promote cultured meat and other meat alternatives. So then now I try to find the themes about the policy promotion and the promotion of cultured meat and plant-based meat alternatives. Yes, I also add that part to my presentation, and I try to add that to the literature review I'm going to write. So now I select the theme for the review. First one is the policy characteristics for the promotion, and the second one is some sociocultural characteristics. And third one is the characteristics in environmental impacts. There are so many articles on consumption aspect of cultured meat and meat alternatives, but they are, I think, already established in the literature review, so I try to skip the aspect to introduce. So this is a table I made to categorize, and yes, this is a table to categorize and to find the characteristic in the policy in cultured meat. And I pick out EU, Singapore, Japan, US, and Israel. And this table shows the connection with the policy and guideline action plan at a higher level. So EU has the EU New Green Deal policy right now, and they have farm to fork strategy. The strategy mentions the cultured meat, so I find they mention the cultured meat and some meat alternative in the strategy at a higher level. And I try to see the related topics in the strategies. So this is how I put a circle in the table. So I find that EU, Singapore, and Japan has the long-term plan to mention the cultured meat. So we find that promotion in the broader context in the higher policy in these countries. Instead, I cannot find that in the US and Israel. So we find some international difference over the policy documents to mention these products. Second table shows the regulation aspect, especially the food safety regulation aspect among the countries. So this is still the preliminary, and I find the pre-market assessment and pre-market consultation is a major policy measure for the food safety regulations. And Japan is currently thinking about the regulation, so we cannot really see how Japan arranges the regulation in future yet. And the last one is the table to show the other policy support, including the research and development support. And I now find the EU and Singapore have some policy targets in the cultured meat in their research and development support. So to remember the tables I showed you in the last slides, these countries and regions actually have the safety regulations, and they also mention the cultured meat and other related products in the policy document at a higher level. So they have made these institutional arrangements, and then they can pass through the research and development. So I start to see some steps for the arrangement to make a full support over the development of cultured meat and other related products. Now, let me explain the environmental characteristics. So to compare the environmental impact of cultured meat production with beef production, I can see so many merits to produce cultured meat instead of beef traditionally. So when we see the research items like the energy consumption, greenhouse gas emission, eutrophication, land use, and water use, we can see so much advantage to produce a cultured meat. And one disadvantage can be the energy consumption, and you can see the cultured meat might consume energy, more energy than the beef production. But normally the cultured meat production use less natural resources compared with beef. And at the same time, we can find some other literature to see the comparison with other types of products like pork, chicken, plant-based meat. And cultured meat then lose some advantages, but they still have strength in the land use compared with most products. So to think about the cultured meat production, land use is the main benefit in the environmental impact. So let me finish this quick presentation now. So to see the regulations among countries, I certainly find the information sharing about the safety regulation and the environmental impact is necessary. So countries certainly need some common understanding over the regulation. So the company don't have to pass the regulation in each country to sell their products. And the second point is that the policy for technological innovation certainly demands some kinds of arrangement in the safety regulation and in the action plan or other policy document at a higher level. So these certainly prepare the formation of the research and development policy. So I said that the main environmental benefit of cultured meat production is land use. so they can free the land from livestock production. Then we have to think about what kind of land use change can be brought about through the conversion to the cultured meat. So without thinking about that, we might not get so much benefit from the conversion to the cultured meat. So if we can open up the land through the conversion, we certainly need to maintain the cultural and environmental practice to preserve the biodiversity and the landscape of the area that got freed up from the conversion. So this is some of my thoughts looking at the literature. Okay, that's my quick presentation. Thank you so much.